Welcome back. Now we answer questions we receive from you, our viewers. If you have a question, visit our website, QuranSpeaks.com, and submit your question there. Dr. Shabir, the question we have is, Surah Al-Fatihah is number 5 in the order of revelation. Why is it number 1 in the order of chapters in the Quran?
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting question that has to do more with the broader question is like, why is the Quran arranged the way it is, as opposed to like a chronological sequence of what reveals first comes in the first, what's revealed last comes at the end.
And didn't God decide the arrangement? That's
Yes.
what people think, right?
Yeah. So I cannot answer to the part of naming Surah Al-Fatihah as the 5th chapter to be revealed, as opposed to some other ordinal number. But it's not likely to be the first. There are various reports as to what was the first revelation. Most commonly, it is thought that the first revealed passage to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is what is now found at the beginning of the 96th chapter of the Quran. And the chapter that begins with Iqra, it says, read, Bismi Rabbika alladhi khalaq, in the name of your Lord who created. So why is that at the 96th chapter rather than that being the chapter number 1?
The first chapter, yes.
And Surah Al-Fatihah being revealed later on, why is that now the first chapter? So that is the question. We can say in response that God had his own reasons for arranging it as it is. And in fact, the Quran has a deep structure, which is both mathematical on the one hand, and it's literary on the other hand. As for the literary structure, we have people like Mikhail Kuipers and Raymond Farron who have written books about this. So Raymond Farron's book in English is entitled Structure and Interpretation. He looks at the way in which the Quran is organized, and he finds that things are organized according to what we know now to be ring structure in literary studies, where you start with an idea, almost like a fixed stone on a ring. You go around and you come back to that fixed stone. So things are arranged in ring compositions like this, so that the entire Quran, in a way, is one large ring. So the first chapter begins by saying, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, praise be to God, the Lord of the worlds. And the last chapter says, Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, say, I seek refuge in the Lord of humankind. So the first chapter describes God as the Lord of the worlds, which is a universal God. And the last chapter describes him as the Lord of mankind, humankind, which means also a universal God. So the first and last chapter are tied together with this theme of God being universal. So it's not only that, but we see that the Quran's chapters are apparently arranged in pairs. So that leaving aside the first chapter for the moment, the second and third chapters form a pair. And so we go on throughout the Quran, we find that they form pairs. And the pairs also form a ring. And then the pairs, are parts of larger structures, which with several surahs together, those also form rings. So there's something like 19 rings throughout the Quran. And now each chapter by itself is a ring. Surah Al-Fatihah, for example, sticking to that since it was raised in the question, forms a ring in that initially it is describing God, and then there is a prayer to God in the middle, Ihdina Siratal Mustaqim. And then there are the benefits which are prayed for in the last part of the surah. So that the graciousness of God, which is mentioned at the beginning, is mirrored by the blessings of God, which are prayed for in the last part of the surah. So that itself forms a ring. So each surah by itself forms some kind of either a ring pattern. I should clarify more that there is always some kind of duality, either by this ring structure where the beginning and the end meet, or the beginning and the end might mirror each other, Sometimes you have a formation where if you segment the parts and you name them A, B, and C, you might find that it goes A, B, C, back to B, and then back to A. So you have a kind of chiastic structure where you started, you ended up, and so on. So there's some kind of mirroring effect, almost like the DNA helix that is at the basis of our own human structures.
So do we have evidence, Dr. Shabir, that this was divinely ordained, this structure, this order of chapters in the Quran?
So we can see in hindsight that with these structures that we're recognizing, that there is a divine plan behind this. It's hard to imagine that a human being planned it all like this, and especially the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did not seem to have final control on all of this, because whereas he taught the surahs to his companions, it is not clear that he taught them in detail the order that we have now, that, this is surah number 1, that's surah number 2, number 3, and so on. And so we find that some of the early companion codices of the Quran compiled by various companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, are noted in our history to have had a slightly different order. So we might have Surah 89 and Surah 90 in that order, but a companion could have had it, in the reverse order, just those two surahs. So we have a general sort of agreement, running through the Quran, and then in the case of some surahs, we have them in the reverse orders in some of the companion codices, which means that it was not delineated in great detail as a fixed order by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and yet it comes out to be this order. We say by divine providence.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your time, Dr.
You're welcome.
On behalf of Let the Quran Speak, I want to say thank you. You've helped us become the most widely watched Muslim TV show in Canada. I want to appeal to you to continue to support us. You can visit our website, QuranSpeaks.com. We also accept e-transfers to iGive at QuranSpeaks.com. And we're now on Patreon, so you can make a monthly contribution. May God bless you and your loved ones today and always.